Most hockey players that are in minor leagues or some NHL minor leagues go into different things upon retirement. Sometimes it's real estate, or they'll go back to our home region, become a hockey coach, a manager. They'll go into head coaching with a squad or GM. Well, this guy did that, but because of a series of unfortunate events, it got it kind of out of hand. Now, today we're going to be talking about the curious case of Brent Sapergia. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about his career, and we're going to get into that, but it all led to probably one of the weirdest situations for a former hockey player that he survived. He got hooked up with the Armenian mafia indirectly. Now, Brent, born Flin Flon, Manitoba, November 16, 1962, 5'11", 205, first came to major prominence with the Saskatoon Blades of the WHL. Best season with Saskatoon, 1980, 35 points in 50 games. Now, he became a minor pro pretty well starting with the Erie Golden Blades of the ACHL. But with the Salt Lake Golden Eagles, that's where he became renowned. He scored more than 100 regular season games in the 85 and 86 season, 47, 47, 94 in 85, 58, 65, 123 in 86. Now, he finally made the AHL in 87, but also played in SM Liga for a little while with 24 of 5 goals in 33 games. 88, a very bizarre campaign. He played the Italy A-League, and also was hit back to the Salt Lake Gold Eagles, where he had 10 goals in 22 games and 9 games in the playoffs. 89, still in the IHL, he had 43 games with the Indianapolis Ice, and also played several games with Fribourg Gotha HC of the Swiss A-League. 1990, back in the IHL, 32 points in 43 games. 91, split times between the IHL's San Diego Gulls, where he had 27 points in 26 games. In 91, he had 46 goals and 63 points in 19 games with the BHL's Solihull Barons. Now, 93, he split time between the Nashville Knights and the Toledo Storm, 37 games in the regular season, and 6 points for Nashville in the playoffs. 94 with the Wichita Thunder, 55 goals in 46 games, 88 points, a strong 297 minutes and penalties, and 27 points in the playoffs. 95, he split time between the Denver Grizzlies of the IHL and the Wichita Thunder yet again, 58 points in 38 games with 297 minutes and penalties. In 96, he wrapped up his minor pro career with the Huntsville Channel Cats of the SHL with 15 points in 12 games. Now, he also played 2 years in Roller Hockey International, 20 goals in 20 games in 94, 145 minutes and penalties, 95, 14 goals in 12 games, 22 minutes and penalties. So that 95 campaign, quite bizarre because he was dedicated to 3 international leagues pretty well in the same season. Now, with Huntsville, he was a player assistant coach in 96, became an assistant coach with the CHL version of the team in 98, and then was head coach of the Louisiana Ice Gators in 2010. Now, this is where it gets very bizarre. So, great player, some baggage, not too much, but here's what happens to him. Now, he's called by many within the media as an enforcer. I think it was a goal scorer and enforcer together. Now, according to an article in the New York Post in 2013, some strange circumstances allowed him to become an international, what he called, focus of the media. Now, Sapergia, according to the published report, who once threw the most unhinged coaching tantrum in hockey history, eventually escaped the federal penalty box after copying to his unlikely role in a massive drug trafficking cartel. Now, while his cooperation spared him a jail term, it had also exposed him to a retaliatory strike from his former employees. Now, Sapergia, according from the article, whose non-stop fighting and boozy antics stunted a once promising career, according to the writer, was sentenced to probation after cooperating against a multi-million narcotics ring he briefly worked for as an unwilling transporter. Now, the Canadian drew a cult following after some 2 decades playing for minor league teams from Manitoba to San Diego, and became a viral internet sensation in 2009 while coaching a hockey squad in Louisiana. Displeased with the officiation, Sapergia, then 50, tossed away, he wasn't 50, I think it was 46, tossed away almost every item he could find near his bench onto the ice, including sticks, pads, and other gear. When there was nothing left to hurl, Sapergia dug into his pockets and began flinging loose change. Now, the notorious incident, made famous after being featured on Good Morning America, cost the volatile coach his gig and forced him to look for other work. Desperate to find employment after the implosion of his career on the ice, he was hired by a transportation firm to pick up packages from armored cars and deliver them to various points across the states. He was eventually given a desk and a badge, and was convinced that he'd stumbled upon a stable and relatively lucrative job that didn't require dropping the gloves or dealing with incompetent referees. But Sapergia soon became suspicious about the nature of his work when the recipients of his packages began looking increasingly shifty. Finally, DEA agents informed him that he'd been transporting millions of dollars in cold hard cash for an international drug cartel and that he was under arrest. Now, prosecutors concluded that the old hockey enforcer likely had no clue about what he was hauling, but didn't quit the shady job quickly enough after his suspicions were aroused. Now, Sapergia, who lives with his wife out of state, was given probation by Judge Dora Irizarry and thanked him for her mercy. Looking every bit the part of a hockey enforcer with a bald head and goatee, Sapergia did not comment as he left court. So, a very respected, but in a lot of cases, a cautionary tale. If it feels it's too good, it usually is. Now, the Bakersfield video is available on various streaming platforms online. Mostly AP has the best of it. I know Hockey Night in Canada was showing that for a little while, and it shows up on the TSN top 10 every once in a while. But no offense, Albanians have a certain look to them, so unless he was completely, I don't know, concussed or wasn't very smart, not for me to judge. I never followed his career in the minors. I know he scored a lot of goals on teams that I covered, but he's lucky he's not looking at 100 years in jail. Because if anybody would have died in relation to these drop-offs, he would be looking literally in some areas at towards a death penalty, depending on the state he was in. No pun intended. So if you like what we're doing with our vintage minor hockey podcast, please let us know with a like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any memories of our great player and coach, let us know. Input is always important. And again, this was a request from one of our listeners. But you know, Albanian mafia, I always had a hard time with those guys because they couldn't speak English or French, so they would never say anything is what I'm saying. They have been in Moncton and southern New Brunswick over the years, but that's a story for another podcast. Thanks for listening. Bye.